And ready? Let's see if we got any sound. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I'm John Miglosh for the Wisconsin DMA and the International Society for Strategic Marketing. Merry Christmas week, and let's start off with something schmaltzy. This was a 4-minute spot by Chevrolet that I really like because it goes past. I've got a 30-second version of it, so it goes by a little fast. And the dad goes out to visit the old car. Yeah, let's go. The dad goes out to visit the car he gave his wife. And just sit in it. It's a real tearjerker. The 4-minute one is just a killer. And the next year, the daughter fixes it up, and that's kind of the storyline. So let's get over to that one and see what we can see. Here we go. Let's see, he goes out to visit.
I was thinking maybe
your mom's car.
Merry Christmas, Adam.
How cool is that? What a nice daughter. Picks up the old car. Of course, she'll get it when he's gone. Now they got me all schmaltzy already. So, what can you do, right? Oh, well, we'll get over to the PDFs and we'll see what's going on over there. Okay, so this was a really good article from Adweek. And my, oh, my, oh, my. Sorry about that. You never know with live TV what's going to happen next. So anyway, Merry Christmas to you, Daniel. Before your company invests in AI, ask whether there's a real customer need. And this is from Stan Pavlovsky, who's the CEO of Shutterstock. A lot of stock photo. Okay, and so they embarked on a project with AI, and starting with the challenge. The challenge is they've got 500 million images. I'm not sure I buy the premise that ad creative is the single most important attribute in driving performance. I think maybe more likely it's ad placement, offer. Those two are probably better. But, once you boil it down, the image is probably some factor. It's, a significant factor, we'll say. Okay? The right imagery. So how do you select the right imagery for campaigns when you have 500 million images? Most of the time I'd say don't use stock photography. But if you're locked into that, I see so many articles that, like this one, had an image for it had a fake image. And I just get rid of it for my show. So, get rid of that Shutterstock photo. No, not Shutterstock. If you're going to use one, that's one. I did a lot of work with Image Club Graphics, which became iWire, which became got bought by Getty Images, and then there's a bunch of them. I did work for a bunch of them. So anyway, back when they were just starting out, but the challenge is how could we help creators sort through the hundreds of millions of images? And what I usually do is type like what I want, like bees. But I tend to use local photographers if I can. And so if you go over to WDMA.org, for example, you'll see images of Wisconsin, and you'll see a variety. I have them cycling. And for another website I just built, easybees.com, I used a German photographer. And so I'll use multiples of a single photographer because, you kind of get a consistent style. All of that aside, so I usually start by, the search of the topic of the image. But anyway, they said AI could help creators marry their creative intuition with tangible data-driven insights. Okay? So they're going to let AI sort through the images. Makes sense. They hired a bunch of data scientists and AI experts and established a new business unit. They figured out thousands of data signals based on parameters like layout, copy, color, style, and sentiment. And I'm not even sure how you score those. How in the world what you need is labeled data set. You need some humans to go through there and decide. So that's the first question is, how do you create the variables? I'm very curious about that. I would love to hear that because it's very, very difficult. So they somehow anonymize data, and so, kudos to them. But here's the tricky part. Then they correlated high click-through rates and other KPIs, which are key performance indicators. You're not going to know how my ad sold because I'm not going to tell you, right? And you're also not going to know who engaged with my ad but didn't buy because most of the people didn't even see it. So you've got some real uphill battles here. But you can see clicks. What's the problem with that? Well, they're going to come up with a resonance score to help customers discover and select the content that is relevant and resonates with their target audiences. Dr. Augustine Fu said a third of the internet, all of internet traffic, 67% is bots, and half of those are malicious bots. And the malicious bots are clicking on ads and creating resonance. So how do you sort that out, Shutterstock? My guess is it's going to be bots picking bots, what bots like. And you'll get clicks, as Dr. Augustine said the last week. The bots have convinced us to pick the bots because they get the clicks. The real publishers, the real content doesn't get many clicks because people are in a hurry and maybe they didn't even see it. So if you advertise where there are real people, you won't get clicks because the people are busy. How many ads did you click so far today? None, right? I didn't click any. Not that I can remember, as Brett Favre famously said when they asked him if he'd ever had a concussion. Anyway, so the takeaway is, and this is good, creativity starts and ends with humans. So the idea of sifting through hundreds of millions of images is a good one. Even at my best guesses on what I'm looking for, it's still going to leave me with 1 million choices or some crazy number, or 100,000, or even if it's 10,000. How am I even going to look at all of those, right? So the idea of winnowing it down makes some sense, I have to say. And giving humans the tools to sift through 100 million images is probably valuable at some level. I would just question whether or not you can really pull off your claim, right? That you're really going to give us something of value. But the good news is nobody can argue with it because it's going to be bots clicking on bots, right? And so as long as we don't have an epistemological foundation for measuring results, as long as we're just measuring clicks, it doesn't matter what the heck your silly AI comes up with, right? I also like this one. Don't build and train models just because you can, right? Because you can't verify them anyway. Unless you're doing mail, you don't know what's going on. Because only mail has a high enough engagement level to see the impact on non-buyers, to see the people who engaged and didn't buy, which gives you that training data set which you need. So as long as you just stay in the realm of digital, no one can ever question that it's working. So it's a home run. But don't invest in technology for the sake of impressing investors. On the other hand, if it gets your valuation up, maybe it's a worthwhile deal. Just stay in the digital realm and no one can ever question it. So there you go. Interesting article, which brings us over to scalable brand measurement. Okay, this is from the Drum. And what they say here is that traditional media measurement is outdated and incapable of keeping up with all the different media options, whether it's gaming or whether it's, I watch a lot of YouTube and I have the premium one, so I don't even have to see the ads. Yay! That's from my daughter. She didn't fix up my old car. She's driving my old car, but she did. But she did let me have the Primo YouTube, so that was nice of her. Okay. So AI, the 4As, I used to work at a 4As advertising agency, said that you need to standardize your data so that it can be used interoperably. There's a toughie. In an open architecture to offer duplicated reach to advertisers and their agencies so they can understand the impact of cross-media campaigns. That is like, this is all one sentence. Who writes these articles? One long sentence with a colon in the middle. And you know what colons are for. Anyway, the 4A's vision of an open architecture where all the data owners share for the common good isn't likely to materialize anytime soon. So embrace the fragmentation. Don't worry that your measurement is all baloney. Let's hope that there's new approaches that expand their measurement footprint and allow them to test. Now there's a word you don't see enough of. Test. You can set it up. You can find out the answer. And here's the way it should work. Okay, first measure and test in an environment that gives you an answer. Don't throw it out to digital. Don't see how many clicks it gets. See the sales impact. What's a great way to do that? Mail. Why? I know it's slow. I know, there's a lot of things you can test the clicks, but be very cautious because the clicks don't necessarily get you what you need. Plus, you can test fairly fast in mail. One of the big breakthroughs we had with Lovesac was doing postcards, a pre-Labor Day sale. And we used the four main benefits that they'd been talking about regularly, and we split test those 4 headlines. And within a week, we had a good answer, but we had a solid answer. We knew which one pulled in the most traffic and the most sales and profit. That's the kind of answer you start with. Once you've got that, then you can do a correlation between these other measurement woohoo deals that are so trendy and buzzword and shiny object. Then you can correlate to that and see if any of it matches up. Because it's very likely it doesn't. Because, it's a proverb in business to business that the thing that gets the most leads doesn't necessarily get the most sales. That's the way it is. People don't know what they want. A high click-through rate could be a high bounce rate. It could be a lot of things, okay? Or, we're going to go over to Ritson and probably tomorrow. And one of the things that he highlighted in his latest best hits of 2021 was a comparison between ads that had no purpose, that weren't purpose driven. They weren't about saving the world. They were just about selling shoes or whatever. And they actually compared the performance. And in general, the purpose driven ads didn't do very well. Mostly because people don't believe it, right? Plus, it's also a very short package to communicate what you're doing. But some did really well. So anyway, the point is that you have to set up the tests to really know for sure. Okay? Test and learn with new partners or old partners. You got to get down to the very, very bottom if you want to embrace artificial intelligence and new technology, you need to have a labeled data set. You need to know who saw your ad and didn't buy. It's not enough to know who clicked it, and you really don't know who clicked it. It's not enough to know who came to your site, and you don't really know who came to your site, although we're pioneering some new tools in that area. So if you really want to know, there are tools. I'm not going to lay it all out today, but most don't. My experience at an ad agency was they didn't really want to know which was the most effective. They wanted to win awards, and that's the way they picked their images. That's the way they picked their headlines. That's the way they did their creative. And it wasn't just our people. It was the ad managers at our clients. They wanted to win awards. And that's the first question you want to ask. What is the purpose that the people who are creating my ads are after? And that comes way before you decide that you're going to really measure for sure. Have a great day. Like and share. Your friends will know you're smart. I'm John Miglosh. Bye-bye. Ho, ho, ho. Merry Christmas.